Hello, my name is John Occhi. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams and the Excellence in Real Estate team. I want to thank you for joining me for my special video report that I call The Dirty Dozen, how to avoid the 12 biggest mistakes that home buyers make. And when I say home, let's just a little disclaimer. This is meant for condos, mobile home, manufactured homes, single family residence, multifamily residence. If you're buying, this applies to you, okay? This applies towards your real estate transactions, all right? Now the other thing is this, of course, any of my videos cannot answer all the questions or be used as a resource for the definitive answer on any particular topic. The entire purpose of this video series, this video report in specific, and all of the videos that I've reported are to stimulate your thought process so that you have the right questions to ask so that you can get through the transaction and make it work for you. All right? So without any further ado, let's just jump into mistake number one. What is the biggest mistake? What do you think it is? That's right, you got it. It's don't shop for real estate before you shop for a mortgage. Let's talk about mortgages for a moment. Okay, mortgages are critical. Mortgages are what's going to pay for the financing of your home. If you need to borrow money, I mean, unless if you're downsizing, you've got a lot of cash someplace, which some people do. I mean, there are a lot of homes that are sold for cash every month, all right? However, at this point right now, we're talking about the 99, 98, 97, 99.5% of all home purchases that are financed. And the finance is typically referred to as a mortgage, although mortgage is technically an East Coast term, and technically in California we don't have mortgages, we have trust deeds, trustee sales, and so on. But that's a legalistic talk. As far as the mindset of people, we have mortgages, and I'll just refer to your home loan as a mortgage, if that's all right. Because the people that establish most mortgages and home loans are called mortgage brokers. Okay, so let's talk about getting pre-qualified and pre-approved. Pre-qualified is something that your mortgage broker does when you first talk with him. He listens to you, he asks a few questions, he finds out about your employment, your length of time on the job, how much money you make, your analysis of your credit, what your debt load is, how much you pay in your monthly bills, and he plays with his calculator and he comes up with a formula and says, well, based on the information that you have provided, without verifying anything, but based on the information that you have provided, you are pre-qualified for a loan. And for the sake of discussion, we'll say $500,000. So you pre-qualified for a $500,000 loan. So you get all excited, you go out with your realtor and you say, yeah, let's go find, I can buy I want this and that in the house, I want a big lot, an RV parking, blah, 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 pool, the whole 9 yards. I've got a $500,000 blank check. Okay, so let's go shopping. Realtor gets all excited and he takes you out because you're a motivated buyer. And so he finds the perfect home that meets every one of your criteria after searching. Let's say it takes 2 weeks of time and energy and resources, and everybody's all excited. We put in an offer, we negotiate back and forth, and we have an accepted offer because you're pre-qualified for $500,000. Whoopee! Let's party, let's celebrate. Start the escrow, we start ordering our due diligence, a termite inspector, the home inspector, we have a roof inspector, we go on and on and on and on we do. Okay, the appraisal comes in right at $500,000, so we're all set to go. And then all of a sudden, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks into the escrow, we get a phone call from the mortgage broker. And what do you think happens here? He says, sorry, but we're qualified for $500,000, but I cannot approve you for $500,000 because of X, Y, or Z. Maybe it's your credit score isn't as high, maybe you have a higher debt ratio, maybe you haven't been on the job. You said you've been on the job 2 years, but it's only been 20 months. And there are a number of different issues that can pop up and do pop up that are going to cause the actual lender to say no. So at that point, your mortgage broker panics. He starts looking for other lenders. He may find another lender, but it's a higher points, more fees, higher interest. Or you go back with the original lender instead of being qualified for the $450 as you were qualified for. He says he could do the loan for $450. Well, you're not going to negotiate $50,000 off the purchase price. So now you pull out of escrow. You've spent money on the escrow doing your due diligence. Your heart is broken because their dream home is slipping away. You talk to anybody and everybody you can. You can't seem to borrow the other $50,000, and it's distraught. It's stressful. Buying a house can be that way. Okay, buying a house is not a spectator sport. All right, so that's why you get pre-approved first, because if you have that approval for that $500,000, then you can go out and you can negotiate that $500,000 home. And let's say you negotiate it for $480,000. You don't tell the seller that you're approved for $500,000, because they may think that we can bump the price here, we can negotiate, and we can get our full price offer, or we can do this or that, we can make other concessions, because they have an extra $20,000 to spend. And as a seller, I'd sure like to put that in my back pocket. Okay, so keep that privy to yourself and to your realtor who's working with your fiduciary responsibility in mind. All right, they've got an obligation to do that. Now, pre-approval, there's still typically two contingencies that have to be met. When the home has to appraise, and in the example I used earlier, the home did appraise for the $500,000, so that should not be an issue. The second contingency is that your loan application is verified prior to the loan actually funding, and that means yes, you're still on the same job, no, you haven't gone out and bought a new car in the meantime, your credit report is still showing what it's shown, and everything that's on that credit report or that credit application, the loan application, is still the way that it was represented, typically about 30 days earlier when it was prepared. So those are typically the only two contingencies that you will have on your pre-approval. But that gives you the blank check. So I think I beat that horse into the ground, and I think that I've made my point, and I've certainly stimulated you to realize how important this is, and any questions that you have, that you address them with your real estate agent and your mortgage broker. Okay? So what's the second biggest mistake? Okay? The second biggest mistake is that home buyers buy a home without researching the market. Now, it's critical that you know the market that you're going to be moving into. The one thing that most real estate agents really love is when they get a relocation lead, because relocation typically means someone's moving into the current market from out of town, out of state, out of the area. And as a relocation, they typically don't have anyone that they really can rely on, trust, or talk about little details to, as far as the community and where the good parts are, or where they want to be. So they rely on the realtor, and the realtor knows that they're hungry. They've got to make a quick deal. They've got to do it soon, because they want to come in, and they're relocating typically because of a job. So they're going to come in, relocate, and start the job and get to work just as quick as they possibly can. Great thing for the realtor who takes advantage of the situation, but the person who's moving in, that's a tough shot. My recommendation is, if you are relocating to an area and you don't have enough time, and I would say 6 months, start looking 6 months in advance. And if you don't have at least 6 months to really come in and absorb the area, to start looking at listings online, have a realtor, who's going to work with you for the long term. Loyalty is important here. If you're loyal to them, they'll be loyal to you, and they can feed you different listings to look at just to keep you familiar, send you little news articles about on the internet about what's happening in the local marketplace, and that's all well and good, and it gives you a feel for the neighborhoods and a feel for what's happening. You should subscribe to the local newspaper if you can, or at least go onto their website and read the local happenings, read what's happening in the PTA and the Boy Scouts and the sports, high school sports teams, and just get to know the neighborhood the best that you possibly can. And with the internet today, it's a great resource, and there's no excuse for you to rely on anyone else to provide you with this information. Yes, realtors can give you some good links, but you can find them just as easy, and then you know the resource that they're coming from because you found them. And certainly any questions you have, bring them to the attention of your realtor, and let your realtor either do some research for you or get the answers for you if they know them. And a good realtor will know the answers to just about any question that you come up with regarding the community. After all, that's what they do, is they live, they work, they buy, and they sell in that community. They are in tune with that community. So if you don't have the 6 months, what do? My suggestion: move here, rent for an apartment, rent a house for 6 months. If you can find one with a lease option, you're even better. You're better off in the long run, especially if it's a good place and you did make the right decision. Then you'll be there for the long term, and your money will be going towards the purchase of your property. So unless you want to move again, you don't want to get stuck with a house that you're not not comfortable with, you don't like the neighborhood, you don't like the neighbors, you don't like the fact that the guy across the street has 14 cars in his garage, and that didn't show up on any of the pictures that you saw on the MLS, okay? It's important that you check this out. All right, well, I hope that this has helped stimulate some thought for you, and you have questions and you know what to look for. These are two of the dirty dozen on the mistakes, the 12 biggest mistakes that buyers make. So until next time, this is John Occhi with the Excellence in Real Estate team, wishing you and yours all the best. Make sure every day is a great day, because they are all so precious. All right, thanks again, and God bless to you and yours.